Hey guys, welcome to the first episode of the Swamp247 Recruiting Podcast. I'm Tyler Harden. Today I'm joined by class of 2026 defensive lineman Isaiah Broughton. He's out of Cyridge High School in Houston, Texas. Isaiah, how are we?
Great. Glad to hear
Good
from you,
de-
Tyler.
yeah, good deal, man. Good deal. Of course, you're a UNLV commit, right? You're going to be on campus at Florida, on Saturday for their home matchup against Texas. You're going to be on campus again for an official visit when Florida hosts Mississippi State. Man, just, how has it been hearing from Florida and other schools later on in your process and, just kind of how the whole recruitment has unfolded for you?
It's been going great, honestly, but having a late push from everybody is kind of overwhelming because it's not really like I can't say I built up a relationship with them like as I have with other schools that I've been with for a while. But I really like where Florida stands at right now and their coach Chapman. He's been telling me some great things. He's been developing players. I know Florida isn't looking the greatest right now, but I feel like that's going to change in the next coming weeks. So
Yeah.
that's really how I see Florida right now.
Yeah, 100%. And, take me back to when Florida offered, right? If it's my
Uh,
understanding, you had a pretty crazy story. So you want to fill the people in
yeah,
on, how that all went down?
yeah. So one day I was at well, it was a school. I think it was like what day was it? Like a Tuesday. I had a nosebleed
Something.
that
Yeah.
morning, so I was late to school, and I was driving my grandmother's car. I left my phone on top of the car as we were driving to school, and it fell off on the side of the road. It was the highway, yes. It fell off the car onto the feeder. And I'm trying to find my phone in the car, and I hear like a thunk because it hit the trunk before it went fully went off. And I'm like, no, that's my phone. So I turn the car around. We go back and look, and when I pick up the phone off the feeder, Coach Chapman is calling and offered me a scholarship to Florida. So that's probably the craziest experience I've ever had getting an offer, and I'm definitely never going to forget that.
Yeah. I mean, whether choose Florida in the end or not, yeah, that's going to be an offer you never forget because of
No,
that
it's not.
alone. Yeah, it's got to
Yeah,
be the craziest story I've heard about a kid getting an offer, right? Phones flying off the back of the car while you're on the highway. It's
yeah.
crushed. I'm assuming it was pretty demolished. When you got back
Oh,
back to it and
definitely.
everything. Yeah, so you were
My
running
back
to
glass is all messed up.
so you were running to the screen fix it store things like that. So no, I bet,
Most
man.
definitely.
So yeah, yeah. So since Florida offered, man, what was kind of the day to day like with them? Hearing from Coach Chapman, things like that. Just what was that like?
It's great. We've been talking almost every other day, and I've been hearing from Coach Hamilton a lot, and they're just keen about getting down there and getting on campus, seeing how it is in the swamp. And I have not been to Florida actually. I've never been on campus, and I don't think I've ever been to a game. So this is like a first fresh new experience for me. So I'm really excited as to what they have to show.
Yeah, and when it comes to Coach Chapman, man, I know you guys have gotten to know each other pretty well since Florida offered. Is there anything that like stands out about him to you, and just how he's recruited you and how he's kind of went about that?
Coach Chapman is big on relationships and getting me down to the school. Um, I think he has great passion for what he does, and he doesn't have a reason to leave Florida right now. So I think that's one of the greatest things that he's shown me since I've been talking to him.
Yeah, and you said you've built a relationship with Coach Hamilton as well. Is there anything that stands out about him, or are you guys still kind of growing that relationship?
No, actually, Coach Hamilton, before he even got to Florida, he used to be a writer for either 247 or Rivals. And he used to write articles about my brother. And so every time he would come to Cy Ridge games, he would see me and he would just say he's been knowing me for a long time, and he's been watching my development. And when he finally got to Florida, it all happened.
Yeah. So it was kind of like you guys started, from somewhere, right? It wasn't like
Yeah,
completely clean slate
no,
type of thing, just getting to know you. He had a little bit of background on you and things like
yeah.
that. So, no, that's cool, man. That's cool. And, when it came to the process of setting up a visit to Florida for the Texas game, let's start out with just, what was that process like for you?
Um, so I'll have to say, Coach Chapman's been he he's been wanting to get me down there for a while. So when we were choosing out the dates, he wanted to put them as close as he possibly could. So we decided on the Texas game and then the Mississippi State game. The Mississippi State game is when I'll be taking my official visit, and I'll be flying up there tomorrow morning.
Yeah, good deal. Good deal. So, man, like you just said, official visit is scheduled for October 18th when Florida hosts Mississippi State. Just both visits. What are you looking forward to most about getting down to the swamp?
Uh, my biggest thing is seeing the relationship of the players and the coaches, seeing how tight they are. I know the D line always has to be a family because if one person takes up two, the other person gets to go free. So I want to see how close and tight knit they are to each other. That'll be a big thing for me.
Yeah. And, when it comes to, Florida, the Florida football program as a whole, I know, like you said, you haven't been on campus yet. You go back to your brother that, Florida didn't really recruit your brother, if I'm not mistaken, all that much. So,
Um, I don't think so.
yeah, yeah. So, man, man, there's obviously been a lot going on with the Florida football program right now. They're struggling on the field, sitting at 1-3 right now, three straight losses. I'm sure you've heard, there's kind of some buzz about a potential coaching change, at some point
Yeah.
this season. Do you have any concerns about any of that when you're, pursuing Florida as a potential option for you in your career? Is that something that is raising some question marks in your head, or is it kind of just like, hey, we're going to see how this plays out and go from there?
Um, there's that. I mean, it definitely does raise some flags for me, but everybody has to take a loss at one point, and I mean, yeah, with their coach being on the hot seat right now, it's kind of scary, honestly, because
Yeah.
then everything changes.
For the people who don't know, from a recruit's point of view, just what is that like, kind of waiting on pins and needles in a way, seeing what might happen with a coaching staff at, a program you have a lot of interest in? Just what is that like for you right now? Just kind of seeing like what could happen and, you know, just things could change and that might affect your interest in a way that you might not want it to. Just what is that like for you right now?
Makes you nervous, honestly. Seeing it's really up to chance now because if they don't win, a lot of things could change for Florida. So it's almost like you have to believe in it. First of all, you got to believe in God because He's gonna put it in the right spot. But it's like it's out of my hands, honestly. So I'm just
Yeah.
it's like it's kind of nervous. You have to just wait. If you don't have patience, it might not work out for you.
Yeah. Because let's say, man, Florida becomes, if they're not already, a top program, a top contender for you in this process, and you have really good relationships with the staff, which it sounds like you do. And, there's a coaching change made. Your hands are kind of tied in a way where you're like, I have to start from square one with a program that wasn't really even in my recruitment for all that long, anyways. Right.
Yeah.
So it kind of, hurts your process in a way, at least for you personally, just that, you know, it's almost like they just can't be an option anymore because they're, in a hole that's so deep compared to other programs. Right. So no, I bet that's kind of a hard position to be in. But, you know, obviously these visits nonetheless are good opportunities for you to become that much more familiar with the Florida football program outside of the coaching staff, right? Just I know you touched on it a little bit, but what are you hoping to get out of these two visits you have coming down to Florida?
I'm hoping to strengthen my relationship with Coach Chapman, and I'm also really excited about meeting the head coach. Honestly, I just wanted to talk to him, build my relationship with him, and get to see Coach Hamilton. Also, I want to know the players' thoughts on what all is going on right now and their relationship with their coaches. So that's really what I'm most excited about.
Yeah, I feel like that would be really good, getting to, pick the players' brains and being like, hey, like you're a current player here. You've been in this system, and you've seen kind of all this unfold. Just, what are your thoughts there? I feel like that would be good, for a kid like you who, like we said, Florida hasn't been in your process for all that long, right?
No,
So, yeah, yeah. And man, obviously you have two visits coming up to Florida. You've taken visits to other schools, throughout the summer into the fall. Just as of right now in your process, right, where you're committed to another school, other schools are pursuing, you're open to it, obviously. Just, what are you going into these visits? Like, what's your mindset going into these visits?
I'm really just having an open mind because, as I said, I've never been to Florida. I've never I've never been on campus. I haven't. I don't think I've ever watched a game either. So like I'm like a blank sheet right now. The first impressions are everything.
Yeah, so this is clean slate, kind of going
Yeah,
in, kind of zero expectations in a way, nothing to really compare it to when it comes to Florida, right? So,
yeah.
no, that's cool, man. That's cool. Good, good opportunity for you to kind of, like you said, go in with an open mind, zero expectations, and the Swamp's going to provide a good atmosphere, regardless of how they're doing, right? So, no, that's exciting for you, man, for sure. And like we said, man, obviously you're keeping your options open, right? Have you thought about, when you might want to narrow this thing down, or, even make a decision, or is it kind of just going to be like whenever you feel it, you feel it type of thing?
I'm hoping to have my decision set by December 3rd, so I'll be able to sign with whoever I'm going with.
Yeah, so you're taking this thing all the way to signing day, right?
Oh yeah,
Yeah. And
it's gonna
man,
be down to the wire.
yeah, no, it will be, man, for sure. And let's not ignore, man, your recruiting process has really picked up, since August into the fall, but you have your own season that you're navigating right now through all that. And you're a full-time high school student. So you got a lot on your plate, right? Just how has it been just the day to day with everything going on in your life, right? Just how has that been for you navigating everything in its own kind of special way?
Um, I picked up speed, so I'm getting a lot more attention than I used to. Which isn't, I ain't gonna say it's the greatest, but it's there, and I'm gonna take full advantage of it.
Got to. You got to, man, right? So, how has the season been going on your end as of right now?
Not great, but we are gonna turn it around.
Has there been a highlight of your season so far? Like you said, you guys, have struggled so far. Has there been a highlight of your season so far that you can look back on?
Yeah, I made a, I created a fumble that resulted in a touchdown. So that'll probably be my biggest highlight right now.
It's always good when a lineman can get in the end zone, right?
Oh
It's
yeah.
always something you're going to remember for sure. But man, just, when it comes to the season, the remainder of your season, the visits you have set to take, whatever it may be coming this fall, just what are you looking forward to most about the time ahead that's coming up for you?
Um, being able to play the game that I love. A lot of people aren't blessed to be able to play this game. So, and a lot of people aren't blessed with the opportunities that I have. So honestly, I just want to get all I can out of it and just go win.
No doubt, no doubt. Well, that'll do it here with the Swamp 24/7 Recruiting Podcast, episode 1 of the Swamp 24/7 Recruiting Podcast. I'm Tyler Harden, joined today by 2026 defensive lineman Isaiah Broughton. He's, of course, committed to UNLV, but will be taking 2 visits to the University of Florida coming up in these next few weeks. Isaiah, thanks for joining.
Thank you for having me.